Welcome to Grief Sucks Life After Loss, where we talk all things grief. Thanks for being with us today, and we hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome, Shannon. Thanks for being here with me today. You have quite the story to tell.
Good morning or good afternoon. Yes, my story is pretty interesting. I like to tell it just in case there's another lucky lady out there with it.
You know what? In this world, there probably is.
So I met my husband at 15. We were just, kind of cutesy and flirty and kissy. He was a little bit of a bad boy. I was a prep. So when he started getting in trouble, I kind of bowed out of the relationship. Then he found me around 2016, and we started talking again. And, he'd gotten himself in order and everything was straight. And so we were together, and then we got married in 2018, December of 2018. I was married for about a year. Then we got pregnant 2019, had my baby at 37 in 2020. Cinco de Mayo baby. And then 4 months later, my husband passed away suddenly. I had just gone back to work from maternity leave, had only been at work for about a week. And then I was going to pick up my baby, got a phone call to meet at a CVS. And when I got there, the sheriff told me that he had passed away. It was cardiac arrest. They said there were no drugs in his system or anything. So we did not do a coroner's report because of all of COVID and it was
Mhm.
chaos. So I still am not really sure what caused it. After he passed, so he had his own business. He had not set up life insurance yet. And because of his other matters, there were no like social security benefits. So there were no survivor benefits or life insurance after he passed. And he did HVAC work and home repairs. I was in the process of, after he passed, I was trying to contact his clients and realized that he was not a faithful husband. Soon after, got tested for everything and realized that I had contracted herpes. So within a matter of a month, a couple of less than 6 months, I had a baby, became a widow, definitely on paper in poverty situation because the job I had, I took a pay cut to be available for him and his business. So the wages were nothing. And then, wonderfully contracted cooties. So it has been an adventure because before this, my life was very comfortable. I was very financially stable, very much a prepper. So everything was in order in my life. And never really had to deal with any major loss. My dad had passed, but I was in college at that point. So it was easy to like compartmentalize and kind of
Yeah.
pretend that didn't happen. But to have someone close to me pass had never happened. So it was a lot. New mom, and it was a whole new world. Definitely a whole new world. And it was a lot to take on in a quick amount of time.
I can't imagine. I'd be so mad. I'd just be mad for a long time.
I'm running on vengeance and fear, and it's working for me. So it's a great motivator.
But the fact that you are here talking to me and laughing, and because you just got to take your situation and roll with it. Like, I mean, there's no
Yeah.
reason, being mad and pissed off and not moving forward. It doesn't really benefit us at all.
It so
Well,
I
it
will
does sometimes. It does a little bit.
say so. I have accomplished a lot in the last 4 years. Since he's passed, I was able to maneuver some things. I quickly jumped into a position that paid fairly well. I was teaching. So social work and stuff does not pay.
Yeah.
Teachers get paid more than that than we do. So I was able to become a teacher, which allowed me to purchase a home. I was already living in a townhouse, so I was able to rent out the townhouse. So I've become a landlady.
Yep.
Yay. And I in the moment of panic, I was donating plasma and using that money to buy into stocks.
Look at you.
I have some pretty good stocks in place. And I was able to leave teaching. Thank glory, God bless the teachers. It's not for me. In social work, I deal with one crazy at a time, not
No,
30.
not a whole room.
I have been delivered from the public school system because they put me. I was certifying for elementary, and they put me in a middle school.
Oh no.
So that
Mhm.
was yeah, that was an adventure. But yeah, I've managed to keep my credit really good, start business, and have everything really in order, and have a nice house and a yard for my baby. So I'm very, very thankful for that. Um, and I give credit to not running behind somebody's dusty ass son. I'm just gonna say that. That takes up a lot of energy.
Did you kind of just go in survival mode? Did I guess survival mode versus grieving? I don't know. Do you get what I'm
So yes, yes. So I'll say this. I had the baby and I was very much prepping mentally and very passionate about being a good parent. So that was a big motivator. What do I want my baby to be? And although I was miserable, I knew I didn't want her to be miserable and
saying?
anxious. So I worked really hard to not fake it, but just be very aware of when I need a break or clocking out as an adult. You know, let's just be real. Sometimes adulting is just overwhelming.
Mhm.
And when you hit that point, you can't make clear decisions. And in these situations, you can't afford to make mistakes. So, yes, clocking out takes you away from your adulting, but you can't stay there all the time with a foggy head and
Yeah.
anxiety and fear. And like, yes, I was in survival mode, but I'm also very involved in mental health. So I know I'm very aware, like, yeah, I'm panicking. I can't make these decisions right now. I need to over investigate so that I can feel better about the decisions I make instead of being like, I don't know what to do. Let me just do this. Now, I will say I did make a panic purchase right after he passed. I bought a camper.
I bought a new car.
I was just like, hey, if I need to sell the house, I got somewhere to be. Me and the baby got somewhere to stay. I can go park it in my mama's yard and plug it in. Or if I need to run away,
You bought a backup plan.
you just pack up and go. Where's Shannon? I don't know. Her and the baby. At least we know she got the camper and the baby's fed because she's breastfeeding. So that's all that matters. It was a survival mode, but I was trying to be a smart survivor. And then I will give credit, kudos to Kate Bowler. So I was a big Christian, super spiritual before my husband passed. Now my relationship with Jesus is very complicated. I admit I am a questionable Christian. It's in me, but it is not as candy canes and lollipops as it used to be.
Hmm.
I'll admit I don't understand what the hell is going on. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know when he's going to step in. Jesus got me on red. I don't know what's happening. I'm praying. I'm waiting for that miracle. I haven't had a lot of blessings. I will thank him for that. But yes, I do feel left on red pretty often. But Kate Bowler, I love Kate Bowler. She's very realistic about spiritual expectations
Hmm.
or relationship with God being like, I don't know what you're doing. Can you just like at least take away my stress? But
Well, I
it's
think it's
it's
easy.
hard. And I'll say this: it's hard as a Christian because a lot of times the guilt of not being happy and thankful in that moment, I'm like, boo, I'm not happy. Like being happy, I woke up to see another day is subjective. Let's not assume that this is a blessing for everyone, and I'm not suicidal, but it's safe to move forward and tell people it's okay to look at your life and be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, absolutely. 100% because we're not
Follow the
perfect.
rules. I don't get it.
Yeah, we are not perfect, and the way that we deal with things are very different. And
Yes.
it's okay to be a mess.
Right. It's okay to not know what's happening and
Hmm.
to feel like this is just not what I thought, or this is not
This is
what
not what I signed up for.
right.
This is how I thought life was going to be.
Life is not a blessing to every now you have to take steps to put blessings in place or open it up to blessings, but sometimes you don't feel like life is a blessing.
No, sometimes some of us wake up and we open our eyeballs and we're like, what the fuck?
Right. And I feel like that's why a lot of widows or widowers run to substances. I have never done drugs in my life, but I promise you I was having cravings. From an outsider looking in. Please, no disrespect to any addicts or recovering addicts, but I felt like I was having cravings like an addict. Like
Yes. So
just need to be numb. If I knew anything about drugs, I would have been on some kind of substance, I'm sure.
it
Or not
was
breastfeeding. Breastfeeding saved me.
it wasn't until I became a widow that I'm like, I get it. Like,
Right.
and every time I wanted a drink, I was like, you're not having a drink, because I could see in
Right.
that moment how easily that would lead to something. And so, like, I don't know. I totally, well, not at the funeral, but most the rest of after that, I went through it mostly sober
Yeah.
because of that.
It's a lot. I came across kudos to the people who I met a widower who was a recovering alcoholic. And I'm just like, man, I have so much respect for you because it would probably be so easy for you to
To go
just
back,
slip back into that. Like, I'm never used and I want to so bad. Somebody got me a CBD gummy. Terrible.
I was
It wasn't a good experience, but
so somebody gave me a capsule of butter, CBD butter, and I was
oh my
scared to
God,
death. I was like, I'm not taking this shit. I'm gonna be over here high. I got 13-year-old son. I was like, I cannot do this. I'll be up here freaking out, and he'd be like, "What the hell's going on?"
right. I was so nervous. I was like, I need supervision and I want to make sure I have like a cup of water and make sure, like, I was like, snacks because I heard you get hungry. Like, I was so prepared, but then I wasn't prepared. It's so funny because, like, once I took it, I felt all of the feelings. And I had worked so hard not to feel feelings. That was a nightmare. Can't.
Take it away,
I
get
was
it
like,
out of me.
and then I was like, it was almost like a self like, you're doing so well, and I'm so proud of you. Like, it was all of the feelings. And I was like,
So
nope,
no more gummies for you.
no, no, no. And they were expensive. Gosh, no, you don't need to give me another one of those. No, thank you. I'll just take a nap. Take some,
There
like,
you go.
I don't like being on medication. So my doctor was like, you can just take a Benadryl on like really bad days. Just take a Benadryl, take a nap. I'm good.
Again, whatever works.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Have you ever seen my Weird Addiction with the
Yes,
lady who ate her husband's ashes?
yes.
And when you watch that as a layperson, a muggle, a grief muggle, you're just like, okay. But as a widow, you're like, widowhood brings out the crazy. And granted, that's not healthy, but I can kind of get where she's coming from. Like, you don't make rational thoughts. Like,
You don't, but
in the
that's
immediate loss, you making some really crazy thoughts. And then I think the chemicals from the ashes continued the irrational thought. But I was so sensitive to her. I'm like, don't be so harsh. Be patient with her. she's going through some things and she's detoxing from the chemicals.
so I was a little bit different. I'm like, because we did cremate my husband, and I'm like, he needs to stay in this jar. His whole ass body needs to stay in this jar. And my sister-in-law kept trying to make plans. She was like, well, let's split up the ashes, and I want some of my brother, and you can have some of mom. And I'm thinking, I don't really need anybody else. And I don't want to give you pieces of his body. Like, what pieces? And my son's like, well,
Right?
what piece is she getting? I was like, I just need, like, I felt some kind of way about that for so long. Finally, I gave in, and I'm like, and we're there, and we're doing the ash thing and putting them in the little urns or whatever, and I'm like being cautious about it. My son's just digging in, and I'm like, I can't
You
today. Can
weren't
y'all hurry
ready.
up?
You weren't ready. Don't let them rush you.
I got there, and I'm like, at the end of the day, he's gone, but just I don't know why. I was just on it for a while. I'm like, no, because I feel like you're just taking like a piece of him, like just like I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't have to make sense. I like to always, so I'm on Facebook widow groups or whatever, and I'm like, it
They're wild.
doesn't have to make sense though. I tell it, my friend's sister or something became a widow, bless her heart. And my first advice to them is always like, hey, embrace the crazy from the get go. Because people, if you keep pretending to be your normal self, people will continue to believe you're okay. And then when you actually get, it's overwhelming and the crazy comes out, it's a year out and they don't give you that grace. If you just be the crazy that you need to be in that moment, because it's not going to make sense. Everything is not going to make sense. And it's going
Nope.
to be like that seems extreme, but in the moment, it was so important to you.
Hmm.
But to save your sanity, you need to respect that because
Yep.
that's what you needed. Like me changing my baby's name, that costs me a lot of money. But in that moment, I needed that in order for me to be okay and move forward in a healthy way. And it doesn't have to make sense to anybody but me, because I'm responsible. After everything that happened, I realized I'm responsible for my mental health. No one
Hmm.
else is going to be responsible for my mental health, and I needed that for me. So yes, there are a lot of moves that we make that don't make sense to the world, but they don't need to, as long as they're not hurting anybody. Now, granted, the ashes, they're not healthy. I want you to make a little bit
Don't
more
even.
decisions, sweetheart.
But we're not the same. We're different people after
Yeah,
an
yeah,
experience like that.
absolutely. And mostly why, you asked for like grief not related to spouse. Based on my situation, there was grief for him, but I feel like it would have been grief anyway because we would not have stayed married. But I grieve me.
Hmm.
I still grieve me. Like I said, I was very organized and everything was in place. I loved who I had created in myself. I really did. But when my husband died, all of the insecurities came out,
Hmm.
came back with a vengeance. And just no real time to deal with that. Financially, therapy wise,
Yeah.
just don't have the time or money to sit down and process that. It was a lot of, and I still kind of deal with it, a lot of self negative self-talk and self-hate for the fact that I fell for it.
Yeah.
And I tell people like it may not have been the situation, but it's easier for me to accept that he was always not interested or not in love with me. Because if I sit there and try to determine which moments were sincere and which were not, it would drive me crazy. It takes too much energy. So it's easier for me to move forward, to just be like, he
Hmm.
just didn't want me ever. It was a long game.
Yep.
So in accepting that, you also have to accept that you made a stupid decision. You didn't see it. You didn't catch it. And for the most part, the accomplishments I make are a way to kind of cover that up, but it's still there. If something messes up, it still rushes back to me like, you're such a fuck up. Like, you're just ugly and stupid and just, all of the wonderful feelings that us
All of the self doubt that comes rushing.
with a kid until you have the mom grief, which is
Yep.
magnified. You're like, you can't get your shit together. The baby's just going to see you being a chaotic mess. And it's a lot to maneuver. And then, like, I've never been on any kind of government assistance. And to be a Black woman who'd worked really hard to overcome a lot of expectations of Black people, to
Hmm.
be the single mother on government assistance. And no criticism to anyone on it, because, it's a blessing and it's helpful and it's needed. Dealing with those stigmas and trying, just not wanting to be that stigma and then becoming that stigma is a lot. It's hard. And I still deal with that also. Because as a single mother, people automatically assume you were left. He didn't want you, or the daddy's no good, or whatever. Now, I will say he wasn't a great husband, but I do feel like he would have been a present father. Because that was a big deal. Those were always discussions.
But I think if we worry For me, I try not to worry about what anybody else thinks because they're not living my life. They weren't in that
Right.
situation. I don't give a fuck what you think. And, you know, I mean, back in the day, I was on government assistance, and sometimes that's just your stepping stone. You know,
Yeah.
that stepping stone to get you through, to help you to keep moving, to better your life. And it
Right.
sounds like you're going in that path. You're doing
Yeah.
it.
It's an art. It's an art because I know. I mean, I can just speak for myself. To make that job move, it had to be significant because I calculated it up. That was like $17,000 worth of assistance that I was receiving um, initially. And when you get a new job that pays and knocks you out of that, you have to make
Mhm.
sure that job covers that
Covers it. Yeah.
$17,000. The realm of social services. You got to tell people, you got to tell bosses, like you got to talk to your employers before you give them a raise because that raise may cost them.
Yeah,
Or
that.
so if if you're trying to empower someone, always take into account like their benefits too, because they may be staying at those lower paying jobs to make sure things are straight.
Mhm.
Don't assume people just want to be lazy. It's hard to make it's chess.
It's a
It's not
survival game.
checkers. It's not checkers. Yeah, because I've had to my right now the baby is still getting Medicaid, but if I made $1 more, she would not. So I
Yeah.
had to talk to my bosses. I'm like, don't give me a raise. Like pay
I
for
know
my
it sounds crazy, but
pay for my phone, give me a clothing budget or something. Don't touch the salary because it's gonna mess me up. I'm not ready yet. I was like, I'm not ready. So, but yeah, it's a lot, and I feel like um, I'm running on fear and vengeance. I was like, I hope his girlfriend and all his friends that he was talking to about his girlfriend see that everything was because of me. I am that bitch. And like it's funny because I was just like, I wish I'd have known because she could have had him.
right.
Now, granted, I'm gonna break you. I'm gonna take everything you earned while with me. I'm taking that with me. But she better love you because you're not gonna have anything.
Right.
Y'all be blessed in your truck. But yeah, I'm in survival, but it's also a matter of just like trying to be a smart survivalist because I got a little girl looking at me, and I do not want her limiting herself for a man or feeling lost. All my instinctual feelings are from my southern upbringings of people thinking you need a man. You have
Yeah.
no value unless you got somebody. It's trying to make sure her internal thoughts are not mine,
Yeah.
because in a moment of loss and questioning, they come out. Those demons, they come back and they attack you every which way. But yeah, your children are supposed to make them better than you.
Yep. You got to teach them how to do it all. Was there anything like some people counsel or some people therapy, some people journal? Was there anything that helped you get through all of this, like in the first year or two? And 4 years later, you still feel like, excuse me, you're still in survival mode?
So I will say yes, survival mode. Life be life, even without widowhood. I think we're all in survival mode, but there's nothing wrong with that as long as, like I said, as long as it's smart survival. The one thing, so since I'm mental health, I automatically went to a counselor. But let me just say, sometimes you're just not ready, and I feel like I went and I wasn't ready because I was so exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much going on, which burned my all associated with caloric, like it burned all of my mental calories, and I did not have the energy to do one-on-one therapy. But I will say somebody recommended a group, so widow group that we have. So Baton Rouge is where I'm from,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a grief center, which is amazing because it's a sliding scale. So whether you have nothing or everything, they will take you and give you all the resources, which is amazing. It's great. Grief is a totally different mental health section.
Yep.
So I would go to a remote widow group, and I love it. I love the group concept because it allowed me to get therapy without even saying anything, because everyone is going through something similar, and you can hear so I felt like a lot of the stuff I was doing was so crazy. But when
Mm-hmm.
you sit there and you hear them talk, you're like, oh, that's just part of it. Like going to the grocery store and having a whole freaking panic attack. I've never had panic attacks in my life, but that's a part of widowhood and nobody talks about it.
Yep.
And so I'm here thinking I'm crazy because the second I step into a grocery store, I cannot breathe. And you realize, no, that you're silly for thinking you could go into a grocery store and be
Right.
okay. So I didn't have to say it to get that feedback or get that input or get that support. So to I tell people all the time, the guy I'm dating now, he's a middle school principal, bless his heart. A lot of his children have dealt with loss, and I was just like, your counselor should do a grief group
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to hear adults, but if they hear another peer dealing with something similar, it helps them get therapy from it without it's like a
Same.
passive therapy. And I think that's good for littles who are not ready to blare all their business, but also in the moments that you're just too like you're too exhausted to work on yourself, but you can listen and you can hear. I did a lot of Facebook widow groups, and I didn't do the normal widow groups because that's not the grief I was dealing with. I dealt with for the most part, I went to like the brokenhearted widows, the women who found out the tea after their husband.
Oh, there's a whole word for that.
There's a whole group for it. Bless them, ladies,
Oh,
because
Lord.
because it's nice to come across somebody who's dealing with that
Mm-hmm.
complicated grief
Yeah.
and won't judge you for wanting to change you and your child's name or disconnect from being associated as that man's
Mm-hmm.
husband. Um, so I really love the passive support there and moments when you really needed an answer from someone that knows. Those Facebook groups were very helpful. Um, I mean, not saying you take things with a grain of salt, please,
Yeah.
but it helps you not feel so guilty about like a lot of times widows want to be available for others.
Mm-hmm.
You can, but don't commit to anything.
To a limit, though, because it's exhausting.
You can't commit to anything in those moments. You don't know how you're going to react. You don't know what's going to happen. You could go to that. I always tell them, go to that function if you want to go to that function. And if a moment hits you where you can't be there, then leave.
Leave.
And if they don't understand, they didn't care about you in the first place. The people who care about you will get it. And don't waste energy on the people who don't get it because they don't care about you enough to try to get it. And it's you know I'm more of a private. I want to speak my story so that other people can have access to something, even if they're too nervous to go to these kinds of things. But also, I'm nervous about putting it out there because I know
Sure.
people are like, you're just not being a good Southern, it's just decent courtesy. I'm like, is it though? Like, if
But
I
did
don't,
I go through that?
I didn't go to a lot of holiday stuff for a couple of years because I was like, that's just weird to me. The people that had babies with me are
Mm-hmm.
still with their person. I feel like a third wheel and it's just uncomfortable for me. And I'm just like, I get criticized, but I'm just like, I can't do it. I'm not there. And the proper Southern thing is to suck it up and just be available for others. And I think that's ridiculous. That's
I agree.
ridiculous. And now I get why widows wear black. So the world knows and they can act accordingly. It's
Leave me the fuck alone.
right. Leave me alone. I may be batshit crazy today. I may not. I may just cry in a corner.
This
Let
is
me
the flag.
like stop expecting me to be what you need me to be. Like
Yeah.
I when like immediately after I had two people be like, "You haven't been checking on me, bitch. If you get Like, I don't, and I was like, do you know what happened to me? And
But what was you supposed to be checking on? Did you call me? Have you
I
checked
said, you
me?
know what? And I kindly, respectfully said, you might, I don't think this friendship is
This ain't
relevant.
it.
So I don't think we should continue, and don't expect me to check on you from now. Like, I have way more going on. And for you to say that to me,
The audacity of people is
the
amazing.
audacity.
Oh my God.
And what was it? I think it was Tabitha Brown who recently said people got all the nerve, but then when you don't get fall into it, you get on their nerves. I said, let them go with their nerves.
Mm-hmm.
Go. I'm not quoting it correctly, but I liked it because they got all the nerve.
And
But
it's
put
all about them.
right.
At the end of the day, they're not people that's supposed to be in your life anyway. I always say, you know what? Them people were there for a reason, a season, to teach you a lesson. Everybody's not meant to be there forever.
Right. And it's your what's most important is you and your child, you and your children. That's always my statement. I always say I work in the jails, and I see a lot of domestic violence clients, and they'll be talking about love, and I'm like, unconditional love is a toxic concept unless you're talking about religion or your children. Now, children are
Mhm.
toxic, but they're yours. So that unconditional love is fine. But it's just don't this whole process has taken away my concept of unconditional love for anyone other than my child. Like, I all of it is conditional. I love you as a child of God, but the level in which I invest or give energy to you is very conditional. Very
Was
conditional.
it hard to, you said you have a boyfriend now.
Yes.
Was it hard to make that step to go to that next relationship?
So this is a funny story. After I found out my husband was a slut, I attempted to be one too. However, I'm not very good at it. So it's the same dude.
I
And
tried though.
he was actually trying to do the same thing because everybody's like, your boyfriend is such a good guy. Where'd you find him? I said, I found him at Home Depot. I swiped right on Tinder because we were just trying to have a good time. And it ended up just being continuing because he had just had a funky little breakup with a fiance. But I think he was dealing with some like midlife crisis things. And so
Mhm,
she wasn't really a good fit for him. And the reality of it, he was very lonely before her. And
mhm.
I think when that fell apart, he fell back into that. So we were both just trying to get over somebody by being under somebody.
Sometimes.
So he's been around for about soon after my husband. So he's been around for 3 years.
Okay.
But I did not find it hard. But I will say this: we both have. I hate to disrespect the term PTSD, but like we got trauma
Mhm.
responses to the idea of marriage. So
Yeah.
both of us are like, I love you, and I love the way it is now. I have absolutely no intentions of getting
We're gonna
married.
leave it this
But
way.
the concept, both of us are in our selfish stage because we're just like, I love you with conditions.
Mhm.
Like the second this is inconvenient, I can't do it. But we're both a good fit and it hasn't been inconvenient, so it continues to thrive. So it's
And
a
it's okay to have relationships like that, though.
it's probably one of both of us the healthiest and longest relationship either one of us have had because
Right.
based on my husband there was a long time span, but there was a lot of we were only married for a year and a half. So yeah, I've I've been with this guy longer than I was with my husband. We do just fine. And at the end of the day, he
And
goes
that's
to
great. And you have your space.
look, if there's something funky or unclean about his house, I'd be like, okay, all right, I'm gonna see you tomorrow.
Go
I don't have to pick it up. If he goes out of the house looking any kind of way, guess what? It's not my business.
home.
Because if you're married, they'd be like, oh, she let her husband go out of the house. And I'm like, not my problem.
I think as we get older too, like all of that's okay. You just think
Yeah.
about things differently after you've been there, you've done it, you've gotten older, and you know, nothing is, I don't know,
Yeah.
I feel like nothing's conventional, nothing's traditional.
You just what makes you happy, as
Yep.
long as you're not hurting anybody.
Yep.
As long as you're not hurting anybody. But yeah, like I said, you gotta. Life is not the blessing. Life is not the blessing in itself. You have to make it a blessing.
Hmm.
So, every day it's a conscious decision to put things in place to look forward to. I'll say that. Like I said, the panic purchase was the camper, but that's because that was my garden. Something to look forward to. Be like, if I'm having a bad day, I'll be like, you know what? If I hold it together this weekend, I can go out with the baby and just sit somewhere really nice and just enjoy peace or whatever. So I do think finding something to look forward. Most people go for the garden, but I do not have a green thumb.
Yeah.
I love vacations, but at a moment when I was broke, there was no such thing. But just
Right.
what find little things. If it is a candy bar, put that candy bar in that refrigerator and be like, if I can hold my shit together till Friday, I can get that whole candy bar and enjoy it. And Kate Bowler said it's not about the big miracle. It's sometimes about just making it like swinging that vine to the next limb. You're not gonna get to that end destination all the time. Stop looking for that end destination. Just make sure you have like a stopping point and be like, okay, I made it.
Mhm.
And then you just take that when you're ready, when you're stable enough, you take that next vine and you swing to the next branch. It's a process to slowly get back to not your old normal, but your be comfortable in your new normal.
Yep. Because the old normal is gone.
Gone,
It's
gone,
not coming
doesn't
back.
exist.
The
Rest in peace.
OU is gone. It's just you have to find yourself again.
Right. Yeah, and it's weird. All those years you spent building that old self, and then you're
Mhm.
like, how is she? I don't understand. How do you
Yeah.
just go away so quick?
And then trying to figure out how to rebuild her
Right.
is it's rough.
Because you're grown now. When you're 20 and you're confused, it's cute. When you lose your
Now
shit,
it's a hot fucking mess.
when you lose your shit at 40 with a kid in tow, you're like, ma'am, get your shit together. What's wrong with you? Shannon, do we need to let you go? I don't know. That's a good question.
Maybe.
I mean, can I get unemployment?
Right. Can I still get paid? I'll go. I'll go be crazy all at home by
Oh
myself.
my God. There was a job. I was like, if y'all just fire me, please just fire me so I can get unemployment because I just need a minute. Give me a
Well, I give it to you. Seems like you're doing good. You're,
I'm doing.
you're doing.
I'm
Like you're
doing.
not doing horrible.
You know what? To every widow who wakes up and takes it one breath at a time, sweetheart, you're doing good. You're doing
Yep.
good because
Absolutely.
there are moments when you truly just want to crawl in a hole, and to be able to just take that breath in and let it out, that's a big step. That's a big step. We all remember those first days, and those days breathing was just
It's
almost
hard to
impossible.
do. You have to think about it.
Right.
You
It's
have to remind yourself to do it.
and I will say it has gotten more doable. There are more happy days. I love AJR because they're like peppy depressed. And I'm like, I feel like that's me. Like I'm a peppy, generally peppy person, but like those moments were just heavy. And there's a song, I'm not happy yet, but I'm way less sad. That was my jam for the longest because I'm just like, I'm just taking it one step at a time and just a little bit less sad and a little bit less sad. And
Mhm.
eventually you keep planting those gardens to look forward to, and you will find happy, and you
Yeah,
will.
and it's hard to believe that
Yeah.
once you're like really in the ruts of that, but the days do get easier.
Yeah.
But I mean, and you still have your sad days. You still have your what the fuck days. You still have your batshit
Yeah.
crazy days. Those still come,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but they come less. They seem to come less
And
as time goes on.
it's always fun to blame it on him. Be like, he fucked up my life, but when it was 100% my decision to do whatever I did that went wrong.
You
Yeah,
have the right, though. You have the right to blame it on him.
The car broke. He didn't even know this vehicle. It's his fault. It's all his fault.
You know what? If that makes you feel better, it was his fault. It could always be. He should have been right.
He should have been there to fix it or whatever.
He
Or
should have just been a better
you're not
human
being a
being.
good guardian angel.
Yeah.
Get together.
Where were you?
Like a
You
butterfly.
did
I
the
need you to
world
bring me from the lottery. I don't need a bird to come flutter by me. I want you to give me a good winning number.
shit. Well, I truly enjoy conversating with you.
Thank you, thank you.
Is there anything you would like to wrap up with, or anything you would like to share as with anybody dealing with any three of the aspects of your life?
Just reiterating, it's okay to be in survival. It's okay for your decisions to not make sense. Just try to be smart survival. Make yourself you can't think rationally if you're chaotic, so just try to get all the facts before you make a decision, or hold on to it, or delegate it to somebody who might have a calmer mind
Mm-hmm.
in that moment. And I don't mean family or friends. Let me just say that. Not somebody emotionally invested in some anything, a lay person, some professional, a social worker or something like that. Gynecologists, doctors, anybody can refer you to a social worker, and sometimes they can be that reasoning thought for you. But it's okay to not understand what's going on. It's okay to question your faith. I love C.S. Lewis. Oh my gosh, the whatever he wrote after his wife died, amazing, because he was a big Christian too. But like that writing was definitely like just the conflicts you deal with, and it makes you feel more normal, even though normal is just a stupid concept. But
Yeah, but
everybody needs to feel normal,
I say when we're going through all of this, we feel crazy anyway.
right?
I know there was a lot of things I'm like, does anybody else do this? And I joined widow groups, but I think I joined the wrong ones because I had to unjoin them. I'm like, y'all are
Yeah,
just sad all the time. And
right.
I had to leave. I was like, this is depressing me even more.
So I had to mute them. Like once I would get to like a happy place, I'd mute it, and then
Mhm.
when I need them, I'd go search it and read what I needed to read. But yeah, just be very cautious. Be cautious about your social media feed too.
Yeah.
I've always been the type to be like puppies, babies. Like I don't do tea and drama on my
Mhm.
feed. So, especially in those moments, make sure you're looking at positive or happy, funny, mindless things that don't put any weight on you.
Yeah.
I had a friend tell me before all of this, like he was going through depression and he would just go to Pandora and pick his favorite comedian and just listen to that all day. My safety net right after my husband died was Golden Girls. I never watched Golden Girls before, but I laid him those that week that I was didn't move from bed. It was on Golden Girls, but it was light and it was funny, and I was able to disconnect from reality. And truly, disconnection is a coping skill. It's a valuable coping
Yep.
skill.
Mine was music.
Compartmentalizing and putting a few of your dumpster fires to the back while you let your body calm down, because there's a lot going on, mental and physical. That much pressure on your physical is a lot. So you have to be mindful of where you are mentally and what you can do and what you can't do. Please don't try to be old you. It doesn't benefit anybody.
Nope. And take a minute for yourself, at
Yeah,
least each day. I mean, even if you just got to walk away to take a couple deep breaths,
right. Hey, be a
that's
flight
a
risk.
huge help.
It's okay. It's okay. Take your mental health days.
Mm-hmm.
There were days I took unpaid leave because I was working at a job that wouldn't let you take leave, paid leave, even if
Yeah,
you had it. But I was like, I, I needed a minute.
that's okay. We need those minutes, and
Yeah.
sometimes it makes a huge difference.
Yep. 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 And you can't fix everything all at once. Take baby steps. I like to do a bingo board. So for the year, I'll break down my goals into like little steps and just work on that bingo board. And every time I get a line, I get to spend $50 towards a self care thing. So
Okay.
your
Well,
massage,
I've never heard of that. That sounds cool.
just something I created
Well,
to get
it
it done.
works for you, so
To-do list and bingo boards are how I roll because I'll forget it otherwise.
I think I forget all the things.
And I don't know if y'all have seen this, but like there's like a article or a story. It's like the therapist like run the dishwasher twice. Have you seen that before?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, just a summary like, you know, I run the dishwasher and it doesn't clean the dishes and it's just so stressful. And then I got to wash them. And he's like, well, just run the dishwasher twice and just take that as a life concept. Like sometimes delegate,
Yep.
delegate these things. It's not a big deal. Sometimes you cannot do it all, as especially as a new solo parent. You're not prepared to be responsible for all these things. Man, I hate COVID. However, I love the grocery pickup or grocery delivery.
Yeah.
And just FYI, food stamps, you can't use it for the fee, delivery fee, but you can use it for the groceries.
Mm-hmm.
They will deliver your food stamp groceries or a random hippie thing because I'm a little bit of a hippie. I was like, you can use food stamps for plants that produce food.
Yeah, and a lot of things on Amazon now too.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love those things that would help out. You don't stop trying to fit into something. Definitely do what fits your life best. Those grocery
Absolutely.
pickups, even if it's one item, make that
You didn't
delivery.
have to get out and have that breakdown in the store.
They can deliver your groceries, and you can sit there and open the door in front of their face. That's fine. Nobody's judging you.
Yep.
Nobody. I promise you, they're just happy they got a delivery and got a little tip
Yep.
because it sometimes you don't have time to do all that. I have
Nor
a
do you want
beautiful
to.
job now that's very flexible, but yeah, I don't know how regular single mothers do the whole grocery thing and shopping and errands. So I go to court for a little bit, but after court, I'm free. So I can do my job anywhere. I could be in the grocery pickup, the pickup line to get my child from school and do my job. But if you have access to those resources and shoot your shot, ask for a little assistance. Like if
Mm-hmm.
there are grants and funding everywhere. If the school has aftercare and you need the baby to be in aftercare due to something, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Or
Because
just because you need that little bit of time to yourself.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I tell everybody, I work at a church daycare also. I've had a mother drop the baby off and leave. So take advantage of your church daycare. I'm not saying drop the baby off and leave, but if you need a moment, drop the baby off at the church daycare and go to church and then have your moment to just be still.
Yeah.
It is beneficial. Or lessons. Ooh, I love gymnastics and swim. I'm there with her, but I'm not responsible for her. So it gives me like I love you and I see you, but I don't have to tend to you moments. And I love it. I love gymnastics. I will find that money if I need to pictures. But yeah, all
All
of those
right.
things.
We're going to finish up, and I appreciate you being here today and sharing your story in hopes that it will help somebody else that's going through this.
I hope it does. It's not a pretty story, but I'm
It's
trying
a
to
little
make it
pretty, but
that way. It's a story. I do like to bring the dark humor.
I love it.
But I will end with a funny story. So I bought a new house, and I got a little vengeance towards my husband. So I have his ashes, and I was like, you know what? We're not going to bring him into the 2024 year. We're going to find a nice, respectable place to put his ashes. So one of the trips we went on that we loved was Tennessee, and so I went to Tennessee. Don't tell anybody legal. I don't know if you're supposed to do this, but we found a little waterway, and we put his ashes in the waterway. I tried to explain to the baby what was going on, but then for the longest, the baby was saying, "We put daddy in the river," and I was like, "No, no, no, you can't, you can't say
It's on
that."
a.
Especially since your mama is an angry, jilted wife, they're gonna think I did something.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, she stopped, but it went on for a minute, and I was like, "Ooh, no, don't tell Miss Kim that. That's not good in school."
Remember when I told remember when I told you you can talk to Miss Kim if you got something to say about that?
And she's like, "I hope Daddy can swim." I'm like, "No, that's not happen. You got it all mixed up. You got it all mixed up."
Did it feel good going into the new year without him, though?
It did though. It's one of those irrational things, but it felt good because I feel like I had to keep up with him. You just in my way. You don't go with my decor. But yeah, it's just a fresh start, and this was a good year, and I do give credit to that.
There you go. All right, Shannon, we're going to get out of here, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for inviting me. I enjoyed it.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation today. If you would like to join us on Facebook, you can find us at Grief Sucks Life After Loss. And if you would like to share your story with us, you can email us at griefsuckslifeafterloss@gmail.com. We look forward to seeing you again.